Hi, it's Professor Chu. We're going to talk about the first chapter of our medical terminology textbook. The first chapter is called Greek Nouns and Adjectives. And I'm going to start by really starting at the basics here with alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, eta. These are the first 6 letters of the Greek alphabet. Now, you do not need to learn the Greek alphabet for this class. This is not a class in ancient Greek. However, it will be very helpful to you to have some familiarity with the Greek alphabet and the letters. On page 2 of your textbook, the entire Greek alphabet is written out for you to see. And I really encourage you to learn it. There are only 24 letters in the Greek alphabet, 2 less than the English alphabet. And as everyone knows, it'll enable you to decode all the names of the fraternities and sororities with ease, yes. But also it will definitely help you, I think, just in understanding where some of the Greek terms come from. For one thing, in ancient Greek actually has 2 letter E's. This one called epsilon is a short E. This one called eta is a long E. Greek also has a long O. This is an omicron. This is a omega. So excuse me, this is the short O, this is the long O. Greek has 3 other vowels. The alpha, iota, and also upsilon, which is often transliterated as a Y. That is a Y. There are some long and short forms of these, that the Greek does not have separate letters for these vowels. Sometimes to indicate that a vowel is long, a symbol called a macron is used. And the macron is this long mark over the letter. So again, I emphasize that you learn the Greek alphabet, only 24 letters. It will make some things more clear for you. For instance, Greek has a couple of what we call double consonants. These include psi, which is sort of a KS sound, chi, not exactly a double consonant, but it is a k kind of sound. It's a K sound with what we call an aspiration or a puff of breath. That's why we include the H at the end to indicate that. So it's a word that we've seen, for instance, the letter, we've seen in the words such as chiropractor. Can't write on my wall, right? And also, there's also this Greek letter psi. It is a P and an S, like psychology, for instance. Okay, so knowing that these are single letters in Greek may help you over the course of the semester, just something useful to know. What else can I tell you? Also in Greek, this is called a kappa. It is a letter K. Greek does not have a letter C. There you go. Greek does not have a letter C. As a result, when in some cases a Greek word that has a kappa, the kappa turns into a C when it's transliterated into English. An example of that would be the word kianos. Kianos. Okay. This becomes a C in Greek, for instance, in a word like kianotic. So sometimes what was a K in the original Greek becomes a C, but sometimes it doesn't. I know, everything is inconsistent, alas. For instance, in a word like leukemia, ta-da! Leukemia. In this word, leukemia is from the Greek word leukos, which means white. It has a K. The K still remains in English. So it is rather inconsistent. And, you know, as all teachers of ancient Greek can only say to their students when these inconsistencies arise, there's nothing you can do about it. You have to memorize it. Alas. So so it goes. But those are just some things to look out for. Also in Greek, the letter R, and I know this is getting messy. I will have a better solution soon. You're probably all saying, why doesn't she have a dry erase board or a chalkboard? I'm actually standing in my kitchen. So this is the home teaching studio. Still working on making it look more interesting. This poster, by the way, in case you're wondering, of a bunch of statues of mostly unclothed young men and women is from the Acropolis Museum in Athens. Okay. Anyways, Greek letters. Greek also has an R. The R often is pronounced, again, with this aspiration with kind of a roll, so, you know, not rhombus, or, you know, rhiza, that means a root, rhizoid. So sometimes in English, you know, you'll see the R in a letter that originally, a word that was originally from Greek. It starts with an R, there'll be an H. The H indicates this, again, this aspiration, this puff of breath that one adds. You can see that in an English word like row, do, den, drawn. But once again, sometimes the H is not included. There might also be words. There are words in English that don't have the H. Backing up. Sometimes in English, when we have a word that originally comes from Greek with an R, the R is instead doubled, so one of the R's doesn't have an H. The second R does have an H, and you know, you get a word like, okay, not the most pleasant word in the world, diarrhea. I bet you can't really see that. Here, I will write it over here. Okay? So, in case you're wondering, why are there two R's in that word? It is because this word comes from ancient Greek, and the H is there because of this aspiration, etc. Another word that is like that is hemorrhage, H-E. Okay, the double R and the H. So, in other words, when a word originated in Greek and became an English term, the rules are very haphazard. There are rules, but they're not all consistent. One thing to know is that also a lot of Greek words came to English not directly from Greek to English. First, the Greek words were taken up by the Romans, and so the Romans spelled everything differently too. They used, you know, the Roman alphabet. Our own alphabet, of course. The Roman alphabet doesn't have a K. It has a C. So that's one of the reasons for the change here, where the Greek word has a K, our word has a C. So, you know, one thing you learn when you study language for many years is that language is a human entity. It's a human construct. It's something that humans use. And humans, as you know, are not always rational or consistent, and language, therefore, is not consistent too. What can I say? Okay, so this looks really confusing, doesn't it? Let's take it down. A clean sheet. Okay, let's talk a little bit about your homework. The homework is based on learning different prefixes and suffixes. So these could be anything from, these are two of the prefixes, hyper and hupo. Hyper means hyper, above, elevated. It's from a Greek word huper, which means above. Hupo means under or low, and it is from the Greek word that means under. In ancient Greek, these words would be spelled like this. Okay, there's a little mark like this above the upsilon or the U looking thing. This this mark indicates an H in ancient Greek. Ancient Greek also does not have an H for whatever reason. So that's something for you to know. As you see, the upsilon is transliterated into a Y. So this is why, for instance, an English word like psyche, okay, which means the soul, or if you're, studying, it's used in psychology, psychoanalysis, psychotropic medication, etc. Well, in ancient Greek, it's from actually a four-letter word. The Y becomes an upsilon. The PS becomes the PS letter in Greek, the ps, the psi. The KCH is actually the chi. And this eta is, this E is actually the long E in Greek, the eta. Okay, so just to give you a little bit of a sense, if this makes no sense to you at all, that is okay, by the way. I'm throwing a lot of things at you. Unfortunately, I don't have a whole hour to stand up here. I mean, I could, if you want to watch me for a whole hour. But it'll make more sense. And again, I do think that learning the Greek alphabet can help you a little bit in this class. Now, the book discusses in one paragraph something that we, ancient teachers of ancient Greek, take a couple of weeks to really explain to our students. So on page 4, there is an explanation of something called Greek as an inflected language. What does that mean? Greek is an inflected language. Inflected language means that in ancient Greek, in order to know how a word is used in a sentence, we change the ending of the word. In English, we know how a word is used in a sentence by changing the position of a word. For instance, if we say, the dog bites a man, we know the dog is the subject of the sentence because it's the first word in the sentence. The man is the object because he is the word man follows the verb. If we wanted to change that sentence, for instance, the dog bites the man. If we wanted to change the sentence in English, we would move the words around. We have the man bites the dog. Okay, so let that sink in. In Greek, again, and actually in Latin, this is a feature of both of these languages, we change the endings of the word to show how they are used. So for this word psyche, this eta, or the E, is the ending. Other Greek nouns. Another example of a Greek noun would be logos, which means the word. This is called the ending of the word. I'm pointing this out to you not to turn you all into Greek scholars or to inspire you to take ancient Greek, that would be lovely, because when one of these nouns is used to form a medical term, a word in English, the ending comes out. Okay, so that's just to give you some idea of how Greek words are combined into English words. Now, our textbook actually even has a term about this. I'll read from the book. It says, the base of nouns of the first and second declensions. Don't worry about that too much. Basically, the base of nouns, I'm on page 4, is found by dropping the ending of the nominative case, by dropping the ending of a word, resulting in a combining form. All this means is that there's a Greek noun, it's got some kind of ending on it, the ending comes off, and you can combine the word into other words that you can that you will need to know for this class. That's it, that you will need to know for this class. In other words, this is the form that we're going to add a suffix to, or in some cases, a prefix to. And again, if this doesn't make total sense, email me. I'll try to explain it better or give you some examples. Also, the reality is what you need to do to take the quiz, do the homework, is to memorize a lot of the forms in the next couple pages. And I also actually think memorizing some of the words will help to make this a lot more clear. And, I will talk a little bit more about Greek grammar too. I think it will help to make things more clear. I hope it will. So for our homework, for the assignments, what I've assigned is the homework is divided into 3 sections in this book. One is about analyzing and defining words. In that case, you're given a modern medical term, and you need to analyze it into its components. Look at the Greek words, the suffixes and prefixes and combining forms, or in other words, the root words from ancient Greek nouns that have been provided, and figure out what the word means. If you have your medical dictionary, you can certainly go and look it up, the word too. One thing you'll find is when you look up some of these terms in a medical dictionary, your trusty medical dictionary, sometimes it's not always really clear how, the Greek words turned into the medical term. So if you have questions about some of these, do make sure you email me and let me know. We can work on some of them together. Exercise 2 gives you a description, wants you to actually figure out a medical term for our condition. So in that case, you need to use the different prefixes, combining forms, and suffixes to come up with your medical term. Again, if that doesn't make sense to you, if you get stuck on some of them, that is okay. Send me an email. I can post something and offer some more explanations. And the final section also asks you to figure out the definitions of a bunch of different medical terms. And all of the terms have, at least part of them, come from the lists of prefixes, suffixes, and combining forms in this book. Now, in this chapter. Now, if you're saying to yourself, well, how many of these words do I really need to know? I think the best answer right now is all of them. Okay? So it may seem like a lot, but a lot of these terms are actually very familiar terms, and they will definitely stay with you, as long as you are studying science and medicine, obviously as long as you're taking this class. So please email me, contact me with any questions, and I look forward to getting your homework assignments posted this week, and I will be getting back to you about them as soon as I can. So as we say in Greek, by way of goodbye, yasu, and please get in touch with me if you have any questions. Thank you.